Yo, welcome to Just the Guys podcast, where our mission is simple. It's to bring back shame. Shame is the necessary feedback needed to change course in direction. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live. We go live every Saturday at 6:30. Now today, guys, this one's personal for me. I grew up in the church, the black church. When I was younger, I didn't think much of it. But as I got older, I started asking, like, why? Why are the hooping and hollering? Why are pastors working harder to make the people shout than to make them think? If God has no respect of persons, why are we looking for the black church instead of the Bible church? Why is it so emotional? Why do you get chastised for even asking questions? Look, I was faithful. I played drums. I was there every Sundays. And being a musician let me actually see behind the curtain, like how ministry really worked. And I started noticing something. The preacher's flash got brighter while the flock got poorer. Preachers rolling around with entourages and armor bearers while their members fight for survival on the same streets they preach about. Somewhere inside I knew this isn't it. So I started studying. The more I read scripture, the more confused I got about what was being preached. Why were we naming and claiming blessings instead of equipping for spiritual warfare? Then I dug into history and studied the founding of this nation, its biblical roots, the strength of black families, even through segregation. We were rising, building businesses, educating children, serving God until something changed. Success stalled, families fractured, and expectations dropped. And a new gospel took over, one built on grievance. That's when I discovered Manning Johnson, a man who used to work for the communists before he left and exposed their playbook. He wrote in Color, Communism, and Common Sense that radicals plan to subvert the Negro church, not by attacking it, but by changing the message. That's communist goal number 27, infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. In other words, make it about politics, not salvation. And now we see it. Sermons that sound like campaign speeches, pastors more passionate about policies than people's souls, faith being replaced by feelings and truth by trends. Communism didn't just sneak into government, it crept into the pews. It's a religion of control disguised as compassion. And once again, our people, black people, are being used. Like Yuri Bezmenov warned, it only takes one generation, 15 to 20 years, to subvert a culture. Once that generation is captured, you own them for 200 years. And that's exactly what's happening. So tonight, we're asking the question, are black preachers preaching communism, the religion of control instead of Christ, and what that effect is on not just the black community, but America? What's up, fellas? How you guys doing tonight?
What's up?
Good evening.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So yeah, welcome back, Isaiah. And we got Soldiers and CT and Gimpy and Reason on the panel tonight. So guys, like I said, man, this one is it's real personal to me. And yesterday marked the month since Charlie Kirk passed away. And Charlie Kirk, of course, was assassinated. For what I believe was his faith. But right after he was assassinated, there was kind of this push in the black church, in the so-called black church. They were chastising people for those who held a moment of silence for Charlie, or those that spoke out of Charlie. And Roland Martin had on his show a mashup of all these pastors. So I want to play this clip right here about this, the reaction right after Charlie Kirk passed away. We'll get right into it.
It's tiring being black in America. It's exhausting defending your existence everywhere you go. It's an assault on my identity to keep seeing this nonsense in our nation, and I am overwhelmed.
But political violence ain't nothing new to this nation. Now, let's be clear. They killed our ancestors over political violence. That was political violence right there. Knees on necks, that's political violence right there. Shooting you down for having some Skittles and a drink, that's political violence right there. And I want them to be just as concerned about Kurt and be just as concerned about Trayvon as they were about Kurt. While I'm on that, can I go a little farther? You and I need to be very careful. All of us need to be careful of the public positions that we take.
And now in the wake of his death, what do we see? Death threats against churches, threats against HBCUs. The Department of Education, on the day after this senseless murder, cut $350 million in grant monies to HBCUs. Threats against the very places that have always been sanctuaries for black advancement, black faith, and black freedom. In moments like this, the church must rise. We cannot echo hate. We cannot mirror the vitriol. We must be the example of another way. We must govern our tongues with grace and govern our lives with love. And at the same time, we must still be about liberation.
So, Reason, I want to go to you first, man. What is the black church?
What is the black church?
Yes.
So the black church is more often than not one of the big three in the Protestant or Christian community, which would be straight Christianity, either Muslim or Jehovah's Witness. And it's usually, the reason it's considered the black church is because more often than not, even in churches that are more straight and not really theatrical, so to speak, you get a lot more of the less Bible and more theatrics. It's more believe this as opposed to teach and learn this. It's more if you have hope as opposed to faith. If you just ask and think and not do, then you know what, God will do this and God will do that for you. More often than not, I see it in the Christian churches, but it's those. I mean, I think it's just become the name, the black church, because when you have people who are black in leadership, more often than not, the congregation tends to gravitate towards that leadership.
Isaiah, what is the black church? What is the black church?
Hot mess. I mean, if we're gonna be perfectly, like, if we're gonna be candid, I mean, that's the short answer. The black church, to me, it's the exact reason as to why our community is still where it is. There's very little Bible in the quote unquote black church. It's more or less self-help than actually preaching the word of God. And I'm saying this as someone who was raised in a Bible believing church growing up, right? And it was predominantly white, I'll admit that. And my parents knew enough in terms of what kind of doctrines they were looking for to stay away from the black church. We never went to the Mount Pleasants. We never went to the Bethlehemies of the world. We never went to any of those. And my parent, and like I said, like my father being, they both, came up in those kinds of churches in the 60s and 70s, like early on in their Christian faith. And once they got married at Bethlehem in 1980, and then after that they were like, you know what, we're gonna raise our kids pretty much as far away from that as they could, because they were seeing things back then in the 1980s and even in the 1990s when we were started going to other churches. It didn't feel the same. We didn't connect with it as kids. But like, I've noticed the difference. I mean, there isn't even close to the same kind of doctrinal focus. There's no there's very little focus on being being Christ-like. If anything, just like many of the clips that you that you just shared earlier, it's still that same liberation, help you get through the day. Very, lots of singing, lots of emotional, lots of emoting, right? Lots of emoting. It's very emotional without actually challenging a person and to live a godlier life. And unfortunately, and like I said, like we see this, I've seen this time and time again, even in churches that try to be more biblical and more Christ-like, there's still nothing there. So
CT, man, CT, I want you to chime in, man, because I mean, I know you're not as big into the church thing now, from my understanding. But what is the Black church, and what do they mean by liberation?
What does the Black church mean by liberation?
Yeah, you can add to that if you can speak to it.
Man, I think liberation in the Black church is a artificially created mystical place of I guess everlasting. I guess you could say that when they say liberation, it's sort of like very abstract. Like they don't really want liberation. Like they don't really know what it is. They have no idea. It's just something to keep striving for, I guess. I've never heard of liberation in the church, but I would assume it's sort of like if Jesus were to come back, would they really accept it? Would they really accept them? So sort of like liberation is something that keeps them coming back every day to the church or every weekend or to the church. Yeah. Because I don't believe they truly want it. Yeah.
So what's your experience with the Black church? Like, or
I grew up in the Baptist church. I grew up in the Baptist church, and it's a failed institution. It was a failed institution when I was in there. It's a failed institution now, and it's always been a failed institution. There's no hierarchy, command structure like the Catholic Church. I mean, that's what the Protestant church is really. Just fragmented churches, broken churches. No, there's nothing, man. It's a waste of time, to be honest with you, bro. The Black church.
That's interesting that you bring that up, and you'll probably see why later, like the whole structure thing. Yeah. That's kind of an interesting analysis of that, because you see why in a moment. But when it comes to like this argument, you see the title of this live stream. It's talking about the Black church, and what I'm asking questions: what is the Black church? And oftentimes, especially amongst Black people, it's often said you don't discuss these things amongst the mixed audience, and we clearly have a mixed audience here, whether it's online or and on the panel. But I do want to ask you, Gimpy, right? Have you heard of the Black church, or did you ever think of this as a thing? What is the Black church from your perspective, and what have you seen?
I've been sitting here thinking about how I'm going to answer that. So I was going to go with, a church run and catering to predominantly the Black community in Black communities. You don't find a Black church in the middle of white suburbia generally, but from what I've been listening to you guys have very in-depth trauma, and you all do. I mean, I can relate. I definitely have trauma from my growing up in the Orthodox synagogue and everything. But I have a question for you. That super clip, is that an accurate representation of how these guys talk to you every Sunday?
Yes.
What does that have to do with
more often than not?
It's called call and response. It's Gimpy. It's referred to as call and response.
Yeah, no, I know what it is.
It's
a thing communists do to get right. You see them do it all the time, where they say, what do we want? Blah blah blah. When do we want it? Blah blah blah. Kill everybody. Yeah, right. Like that's how they all do it. I mean, but no, seriously, what does that have to do with God? Not one of them made a divine statement, like a statement in the realm of divinity. They talked about solely worldly, materialistic concepts and how they apply to the individual and their selfish need. Like nothing there was selfless in any of it. Like even when he's talking about rising up, it's in order to show we're better. That's not why you do things. You do the right. Like I'm sorry. Like my question really simply is how is that anything to do with Christianity? Like if that's what a representation of what that is, where's God in all of that?
Well, what it shows.
That's a magnificent question. You're right.
That's a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, I didn't see any God. Like, if you no, seriously, if you put a super clip together of Orthodox rabbis, go look at any of them, what they're trying to besmirch Jews. There's God all over those super clips. The name of God, the intent of God, the divinity of God, even when they're using it to foul mouth us in the worst anti-Semitic ways. You get a whole bunch of rabbis and you super clip them together. The word God, the idea God, the concept God is embedded to the core in whatever you're going to watch. What I just watched is a whole bunch of guys telling you have to behave in a way because it's socially acceptable for what we're trying to represent politically. I mean, literally, that's
key.
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I never see, like, you just put together a super clip of one guy's trying, he can't even get the words out because he's so screwballed about the bullet points he didn't study before. He screwed up saying Floyd and Kirk, and he had them backwards and had to get them untwisted. I'm sorry, dude. From where I sit, there is no God in any of that, man. There's no.
Shout out to
you would be
Portland with becoming a member of the channel. He joined the Shamers Club, and then shout out to Kung Fu CJ with the $2 super chat. Dang, I'm late. Yeah, man.
Hey, welcome, Kung Fu. It's always good.
Guys, make sure you share this. This is probably the most important show that we've done. But go ahead, Isaiah, real quick.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that super clip was just far less subtle than anything that I've seen in the Black church recently. Those guys, I mean, all of those guys that you saw were leaders of, a couple of them were leaders of mega churches. Like we're talking about, congregations in the thousands. Okay.
Yep.
And very charismatic, guys with a lot of charisma, a lot of, flowery language. But to hear communism so blatantly intoned like that, with liberation, everything. It's like what I've noticed is the more that communism, the more that these people have lose the culture, the wider culture, the further the mask slips. Keep in mind, I mean, communism has infiltrated everything. Marxism has permeated everything in our society, from the corporations to the banks to media outlets to even the means of cultural production, even in terms of sports, like our sports leagues, the NFL right now, Major League Soccer, who I've been a fan of since 2013 with DC United. Like the culture, like communism has infiltrated, like leftists have infiltrated so much and subverted so many things that create the culture that that a lot of the culture that we grew up in.
Yep. So
what we're seeing now is just the fruit of all that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show you guys because my goal is to get people to understand, like get people equipped to recognize, see this thing, and also share this with others. Tyrone, I haven't heard from you yet, man. What is the Black church? I know you had some experience with the Black church, and I know you got friends in the Black church. So just real quick, I want to get you because I'm going to start with you on the next part.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in a Black church, Whitestone Baptist. It was one of these old Gothic style churches in West Baltimore. The pastor actually worked for Bethlehem Steel. He was not a full-time pastor, so you know how long ago this was. However, and that was very insular. We would go to church, but we wouldn't understand the wider impact of it. I got to agree with CT on the fact that it's a he says something key. It's a failed institution. Not only that, it has produced failure, and you can actually see it. If you go now to West Baltimore and look at the blocks that surround Whitestone Baptist Church, is blight, it's high crime, despair. Okay, it's like that structure has acted as an antenna to focus misery. Okay, and you've got a lot of churches in any inner city. Okay, because again, like CT said, there's no organization, there's no structure. Literally, you can get up tomorrow morning and say, I'm called. There's no one that's going to check you on that. There's no one that's going to require you to go through any seminary type training. You can just open a church. Okay. And the last thing I'll say about it is, I think what we've seen, I like to call it the Africanization of the Black church, in that you remember Mobutu Sese Seko, Robert Mugabe, all of these little despots, right, that would take in all of this money and they would live lavishly, but their countries would sink further and further into despair, right? This is the same thing you see. I mean, you had Jamal Bryant here up on, what was that? Ricestown,
Primrose
right,
Avenue,
exactly, right on Primrose. And if for
Club
those
Empowerment Temple
area, right? It's just it has seen better days. Let's just put it like that. So the average parishioner in his church couldn't rub two nickels together, and this guy was arriving at that church on Sundays in a Bentley, okay, selling this garbage prosperity gospel. So you got, on the one hand, you got the prosperity gospel. Now, CT said he wasn't familiar with the liberation theology. Think back to Jeremiah Wright, Obama's pastor. That Chicago, they got that liberation theology. And the reason they hold fast to it is because, just like in Cuba, the revolution never ends. You always got to have an enemy out there. You'll never reach nirvana, because that's the way these Marxists maintain power.
Absolutely.
Now I want to back you guys up, right? Because there's been a lot of kind of verbal explanation of what's going on, and I actually, in researching for this particular episode, in this session, I came across a lot of things, and particularly in the language. So I'm gonna play this clip from Jamal Bryant. You just brought him up. I'm gonna play this clip from Jamal Bryant. And then I want you guys to listen to the language, that he's using real quick. And I don't know if you'll catch it, but we'll see.
I'm concerned about all of these Negro preachers who've been, in fact, talking about that this man that was killed was the answer to Christ in the earth. Y'all ain't saying nothing. They having moments of silence in black churches all over the country over a man that was racist and a white supremacist.
All right. So you notice he used two words: Negro preachers, and then black churches. Okay. So do you know the communists like to play with language? Did you know there's a difference between the Negroes and the blacks?
Yeah.
Soldiers.
Well,
I'm not familiar if there's a deeper distinction.
What do you mean?
I'm familiar with the distinction between coloreds and black, but not.
No, come on. He is
Gimpy, go ahead.
making a delineation between acceptable black people and unacceptable black people. And he's using a derogatory term that if a white person used it, you'd get all huffy and uptight about. And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying you would. But he's using it to cast aspersion on people he disagrees with politically, specifically black pastors, black ministers who are using their time in church to pay respect to a man who they felt might have been a good conservative and representation of good Christian. And he is making a line in the sand called unhumaning them, which is a communist tactic. I'm sure that's why we're talking about this, in order so that black people can create an enemy from their own. I'm just saying, like, dude, this is a standard tactic that they use. It's called unhumaning. That's why they use the language so divided, and then say, we're not the divisive ones, you're the divisive ones, because we're the human.
So this is fascinating. CT, did you know there's a difference? And so to me, when I hear this, and you'll see why in a moment, but when I heard this, there's a Negro preacher, and then and to me, it seems like he's trying to claim those people. Black people are my people. Negro preachers are leading them astray. CT, did you know there's a difference?
No, I didn't.
All right, guys. So when I was researching this, guys, this right here literally blew my mind. I kid you not. Obviously, there was segregation in the past, right? There's just, the Black church did their thing, and it wasn't even the Black church. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just play this clip. And then we'll discuss it.
My name is Edward Carson, and I'm a faculty member at the Book School here in North Andover, Massachusetts. I'm also a member of Communist Party USA, and I chair the Boston Club of CPUSA. What is the Black church? It is imperative to understand what is meant by Black church. Examine the historical development of the Black church to be sure to distinguish it from the Negro church, an institution with which the Black church is sometimes conflated. The Negro church, as conceived by Woodson, have become a divisive institution responsible for splitting the Black community into conservatives who embrace the old-time religion and style and doctrine, and progressives who wanted both religion and education in a more modern style of worship and theology. Despite Woodson's criticism, like Du Bois, both of these individuals found virtue in the Negro church and promoted the Reformation rather than its dissolution, hence seeking the good and the value, which will later be seen once we get to the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s.
So, Isaiah, I want to go to you first, man. Did you see what he just said?
Yeah, I did. And I'm going to say this. He reminds me a lot of, and I'm just going to share this. Well, I can't share it, but reminds me of the old Nicole Hannah-Jones tweet where she said, and I quote, "There is a difference between being politically Black and being racially Black." That, again, it's drawing that whole the friend enemy distinctions, is forcing the friend enemy distinctions on everyone else. It's no different than when Roland Martin or some of these other guys is out here calling people Uncle Toms and coons and all this other foolishness. There's no difference. It's the same exact tactic. It's basically those of us who don't want to be communists, those of us who it's the subsumed, the subverted, and those who are not. Okay, the dehumanized, those who are the people. It's so crazy because the way that these people operate when it comes to dehumanizing people, they already consider those who are not communist, who are already not Marxist, they already consider them to be dehumanized. And so even in the manner in which they try to convert people to their religion, when they try to open people's eyes to critical consciousness, it's still done with that same contempt. That's all I hear with that. All I heard in that clip is just contempt for people who still want things the same old way, the same, because these people are obsessed with new things, making things new. We're going to do things a different way because your old ways are caused us harm. Your old ways did things. Your old ways are evil, and thus we must crush them and take them and replace them with our stuff. Well, what's your stuff? These people never have these people are never able to give a very specific answer as to what they're all about.
Mm. So guys, I understand. So this video, I'm trying to push this out. I know communism is not the fancy word, but guys, this is something that as I've started to see, it's blowing my mind. But I when I was looking at this, man, and I want to ask you guys if you see, what I see. First off, the Negro church did represent conservatism. Like they represent like how we were conservative. Like we didn't necessarily have everything, but family, our faith, our freedom were the values that were held by the early Negro church. And do you guys see the subversion by people like W.B. Du Bois? And he's talking about Carter Wilson. CT, I want to get you to chime in on that, man. Like, are you seeing the subversion that I'm seeing right there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, man, the black church has already been subverged from within, and you could even argue from outside sources, man. This is the same old game, man. I don't even believe it was ever conservative, to be completely honest with you, man.
You don't think it was ever conservative?
No, I don't think blacks. Man, you don't really want to know what I think about the black church, man. I grew up in it, man. I'm telling you, man. I
grew up in it. Tell us, man. That's why we're here.
I would 100% like to hear what you.
Same.
I just don't believe that blacks have the intelligence capacity, man, to operate an institution at that level, man. I don't think it was ever conservative, man. I think it was always a place of ill repute, just a day to go somewhere after the club, man, to be honest with you, man. All that singing and hollering and Holy Ghost shit and them big crowns and all that shit, that elaborate dress. They were doing that shit 100 years ago, man. Them big crowns, I mean, I like the culture of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like eating the fried chicken after the service, but the food has never been the food that was supposed to be of Christ. All of the flashiness, it's always been there, man, to be completely honest with you, man. I just don't see it. Yeah, I really don't see it, bro.
So Tyrone, did you see the active plot against the black church?
Yeah, it's been long-standing, and I think that if you look at almost every institution today, it's been heavily co-opted by Marxism, by communism. I mean, so the black church is one of many institutions that, look at Disney. Disney is supposed to be producing kids' movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're actually actively sacrificing their company. They don't give a damn about the bottom line. Because, after you produce one flop, you move away from that formula, right? That's what we've seen in the past with Hollywood. So you're not going to get two Howard the Ducks, okay? But
Howard the Duck was awesome. I can't believe you just shit on Howard the Duck, man.
So now we see the 1 star in Rotten Tomatoes. Thank you for revealing yourself.
I am not alone, buddy. I am not alone.
It may have reached cult status, but the box office certainly wasn't kind to it. But my larger point, and you could insert any movie like that. But listen, who's the fault reside with, right? When I find out that an institution is actively working against my interest, I disconnect myself from it. Tomorrow's Sunday. You're going to get a whole lot of conservatives that swore they would never watch football again after the Baltimore Ravens went over to London and kneeled down for the national anthem. You don't even remember that. So the culture war is so strong that it keeps asses in seats, be those seats in the pews of these black churches. And look, I know we're focused on the black church, but let's be honest. Joel Osteen, he's just an outgrowth of this. Okay. All of there are plenty of
They support Trump, those guys.
multicultural,
It's not the same. It's the other side of the spectrum.
not multicultural, multi-faith, I guess,
So
non-denominational.
Non-denominational.
Right.
You know,
That are just as weird.
Yeah, but they're all right-leaning in their mind. This guy, like, again, you're making an argument of two sides of the same coin at best. I'm just saying, like, dude, I'm the outsider here. Like, I have no invested interest in this, but you guys all seem to have a problem with the way the church runs and everything in the Black community for a various number of reasons. But isn't it fair to say that the reality is that in general, religious institutions in America are just not doing well for the same various reasons? You have the fake churches all over across every denomination. You have decline in attendance. Now you have an uptick in Catholicism, actually. You got to give the Catholics some credit in America. They've been fighting back. But in general, that's why it was such a big deal that after Charlie Kirk got assassinated, the big, huge uptick of people who hadn't been to church in years going back. A brief revival, if nothing else. But again, I'm just pointing out that this is indicative of a larger symptom. Now, I get it. Everybody wants to deal with their in-group. I heard all about it today on CT's panel. People talking about focus only on your own people. Fine. God bless. We're in a Black community, Black panel. Let's talk about the Black church. But I think the problem is indicative of religious houses, institutions, 501c3s and everything. I think it's a plague across the whole thing. Like, you know what communism is? Communism is not what we're talking about. Communism is what comes after what we're talking about. According to these people, communism is the utopia at the end of the rainbow. And that's why correct. They keep telling you it was never done right. That's correct. No one ever got to the utopia. None of them actually take into account that maybe they were lied to, right? Like maybe it doesn't pan out the way they're saying, no matter how they run it, no matter what they do, you always end up with running out of other people's money. So I'm just saying, yes, there might be an issue specifically in the Black church with communism, but there's an issue in America with communism. And the Black church is just one tentacle, a symptom, whatever you want to use. I'm not minimizing it. There's a broad spectrum attack on our way of life in this country.
Right.
No,
there absolutely is.
I agree with you, but I think
police abuse, but we used to hose protesters down for behaving anti-American.
Yes.
We didn't let them sit there and make headlines and, wear this and that. No, this country stood united saying, if you're just going to make an ass of yourself, we're just going to turn the hose on you.
But here's the thing, Gippy. Here's the thing, right? I agree with you that every institution is being corrupted. But when you talk about the corruption or the subversion of communism, it was done through the Black community, at least from my record, what I've seen in history. The 100%. Communists leveraged the wedge of the racial issues. They harped on the point of, just the issue of race, and they used that as an avenue to now subvert the Black church, which is now infiltrated into other areas of American life. And this is why I do believe if we want to truly save America, Black people have to adopt the country.
Good luck.
Christian nationalism or whatever you want to call it. You have to go back to a foundation of faith, family, and freedom instead of race.
Go ahead, Reason. Please, I apologize. I've just been quiet and listening. Maybe my issue is the fact of who it is. Okay. Maybe it's just that I have an issue personally with Jamal Bryant. Maybe that's the problem. The guy was here in Baltimore. Okay. The guy is sitting here talking about the Negro church as opposed to, just the Black church. The thing I despise the most, okay, about us culturally when it comes to the church, one is the people who have the authority, and then those people who are doing whatever they are doing to make the people who are underneath them follow them blindly and stupidly.
Yes.
And two, the people who are stupid enough to believe this. Okay. I mean, this is mind blowing to me. There are 80% of the people in the black church are women. And we listen to Jamal Bryant and we sit here and go, what Logic just said? We have to be more foundational. What in the world would make the black culture a little more foundational? Excuse me. How about family? Yet we have a guy here who can't keep his dick in his pants and went through half of the women in Baltimore probably, which got him kicked out. Okay.
Yep.
Then he's going down here into Georgia, and he's sitting here like, yo, the problem that I really have the most when it comes to the black church and why I give Bling thumbs up, Catholicism, a hand clap. To an extent, the Muslim culture, a hand clap, is because in their religion is order. Okay? There is order in their religion. You know why they won't put order in the black church? You know why they say, God damn it, we're not going to put the patriarchy back into the black church or the Christian church in general, which, by the way, would bring men back to the church, is because the women are paying the bills.
Exactly.
So how about you actually teach what you believe and stop pussyfooting to the people because you feel like you're going to lose your funding?
A lot of that.
I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not afraid to say it.
And you know what? You are absolutely correct. And I feel you on that when it comes to Jamal Bryant. Jamal Bryant is, and I'm gonna paraphrase from actually directly quote Anton Daniels from a couple of weeks ago. Jamal Bryant is a demon, which is why he took over a demon's church. Remember, he is the successor to Bishop Eddie Long.
Mm-hmm.
That was Bishop Eddie Long's church that Jamal Bryant's at. So of course, one degenerate covers for another. Okay, I mean that's basically what it is when it comes to that. And Jamal Bryant is, I mean, even like everything about Jamal Bryant, like if you notice in his pulpit, okay, the communist fist grabbing the cross.
Yeah.
Like how much more subversive can you get than that? I mean, like you're literally saying that communism will destroy the church and y'all niggas is gonna help us do it. That's essentially what that is. And I share reasons discussed with Jamal Bryant. I've been discussing with him for years. And I mean, like you said, we all knew. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. My ex-mother-in-law, okay, you used to go to Israel Baptist Church of Baltimore City, okay, in historic East Baltimore. A lot of that's actually where I got married. One of the churches I got married in. Been married a lot. Anyways, look, third time's a charm. Thank the Lord. Anyways, so Jamal Bryant went and preached at Israel Baptist Church like years and years ago. This motherfucker had his own amen corner who traveled with him, a bunch of black women. Okay, some of them was middle-aged, some of them was in their 40s and 50s or whatever. And all of them, as my, to recount the story from my ex-mother-in-law, all of them were wearing the shirt, these t-shirts that said, "Preach, black man, preach."
Mm-hmm.
It was the one and only time Pastor Wilson, shout to H. Walden Wilson II. It was the one and only time Pastor Wilson had that charlatan under in the pulpit of his church.
Wow.
So again, we listen, we could shoot on we could shoot on Jamal Bryant all night long.
Can I piggyback you really quickly? Very quickly.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So a couple years back, Jamal Bryant was at Mount Calvary in D.C. Archbishop Alfred Owens, I believe. This dude preached, if you want God to bless you, you have to sow in everything seed. There was women dumping their purses onto the pulpit. I'm sitting here. I shit you not. We were standing outside the church. A group of us were standing outside the church, throwing jokes at the people who were walking out because we're hearing them say, "Oh shoot, I don't have the money to get on the bus to get home. You got money to get on the bus." I'm sitting here, and the people in our group are sitting here like, "Yo, you let Jamal take all your money?" Because I mean, seriously.
Shoot.
So yeah, I'm telling you, this dude is like, wow.
No.
One of the very objective ways to tell the level at which the black church has been co-opted is the way they're treated by the IRS. Okay. Now, as 501c3s, they're not supposed to have political leanings that they express. Okay. Bishop Patrick Wooden, he tells a story, it's on YouTube, of how he said something in his pulpit about a candidate. Now, he's conservative. And then he tells how the IRS descended on him, threatened him. But yet, we're talking about Jamal Bryant as one example. He went so far as to say that Jesus told him personally that Kamala Harris was going to win the presidential election. Okay.
Yeah,
and he was out there. He let her come into his church several times. He was out there actively supporting her under the guise of his church. And Jesse Jackson used to do that a lot. You know, a lot of these ministers will do that in the black church. And the IRS never does anything. They never approach them. They keep on doing it. Okay. Yep. So that right there tells you two things, actually. It tells you the level of corruption within the bureaucracy, but it also tells you that if you are coming at it with the right ideology from the pulpit, then they'll leave you alone. They'll encourage you, basically.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
so
it's almost like you, not to cut you off, but it's almost like, think of it this way. The church has been the black church in particular has been very, very permissive of LGBTQ, IAP, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. It's that permission structure, the permissiveness is what I'm talking about. Why in the world? And think of how white leftists, white liberals are always very, very, they are so much more comfortable with, I'm going to go ahead and say it, with gay or gay black men or lesbian women, lesbian black women, because they know, and I don't want to derail this, but they know they're not a threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
they're not a threat.
This goes all the way back to Mandingo. You know, the plantation owner. Think about how many sleepless nights he had away from the plantation with Jupiter down in the slave quarters.
Jupiter,
with,
who the fuck?
The limp dick, and his wife and daughters were right up the road. Okay, so the demasculinization,
yes,
of black men, that has been a constant trope. That lately, they're doing gangbusters with that battle. You know, demasculinizing men. Period. With the black man in particular.
Yeah. So I still want to dig. I want to dig a little bit deeper into the
supers.
Into the Go ahead. Reason. Read the supers.
I know. Just run them off real quick. The Kung Fu CJ. I appreciate you, man. How about asking a black preacher like me? Let me on the panel as well. I think that is what is that logic? Is that at the end? Okay. Also, thank you for the Black Church Believes in Replacement Theory. Another $2 super chat. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Kung Fu. Thank you everybody for your super chats tonight. It helps us to get more stuff out there. Here you go, Logic. Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to again. It's important to note, like, this particular comics doesn't have a big following or what have you, but he is reading the play, and the play has been in effect in the Black church. And to me, when you know what your enemy is doing, you can stop it. And when you're able to see that you've been subverted, you can say, "Oh man, maybe that's not right." And I don't know what it was about me.
How are you going to stop the Black church? First of all, it's not one uniform.
I'm not trying to stop anything. But what I'm saying is, you can plant a seed. And what I'm saying is, I don't know what it was about me that saw something different. I don't know what it was about me that said, there's something not right about this. Let me find out why. Because I also understand that a lot of people are just born into it. When you talk about subversion and generations and things like that, people are just going by what they know, right? And it's just, maybe there's something, I don't know why me, but maybe I'm crazy. That could be it too. But let me see. And the toaster. Okay, yeah, I got you. but I do want to play this, and I want you guys to kind of chime in. As you will. So, all right, here we go.
And again, I defined the differences earlier on between the Negro Church and the Black Church. Several years after Fraser published his scathing indictment of the Negro Church, C. Eric Lincoln wrote, I quote, "The Negro Church that Fraser wrote about no longer exists. It died an agonizing death." He went on to claim that with the sadness and reluctance and the trepidation and the confidence, the Negro Church accepted death in order to be reborn. And it's interesting because James Cone, the author of Black Liberation Theology, noticed that since for something to really manifest and to grow, much like the resurrection of Christ, it must die and be reborn in different ways.
Anybody ever heard of Black Liberation Theology?
Yes, I have.
That was Jeremiah Wright. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, it's the subversion.
Yep. At the birth of the Black church in the mid-20th century, which is important. So now we're talking about the Black church being born in the mid-20th century, hence the idea of the civil rights movement. He links the idea that this is the difference from the Black church and the Negro church. And that is the Black church is now going to take on a new perspective in being a savior of a race of people who need an institution to fight against the problems and the challenges of white supremacy that were in place. The socialist progressive stance of Nat Turner, Richard Allen, Henry McNeil Turner, with notwithstanding, Lincoln argued that, quote, "The Negro church, the church traditionally courted such a conservative image as to have seldom been considered a threat to prevailing social values."
So conservative churches weren't a threat to the American way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys see that?
This self-realization, coupled with a renewed sense of purpose and power, fueled the agenda.
Can I just point out, this guy's bibble babble proves CT's point. Church, the Black church was always corrupt. There was never a time the Black church, the way you frame the question, and he's using the same framing technique, technology, and meaning as you were, there was never a time. So that means CT was correct, that it has never been conservative. It has never been. It has always been poison. And there has never been a time. I mean, just based on this guy, you're trying to educate us with, it's demonstrating that the whole institution's whole purpose is to subvert the Blacks' role in America.
So yeah, but CT also said that he doesn't believe that Blacks, the church, had the mental acuity to actually make something like that work. I agreed with almost everything you, CT and Guilty, were saying, and then I thought about W.D. Du Bois and that talented 10th. There were a group of Black people that had that just, I don't know, they just never jumped back in, and I believe that a part of that 10th was also in the Black church. So
how do you respond, CT?
How do you want me to respond, man? Man, you want me to really be honest with you?
Yes.
That's all we could ask.
Man, we know that it was his white side that made him intelligent to the point where he was able to let's just be honest about it, man. Like I hate to say these things, man, to be so brutal, man, but we know W.E.B. Du Bois was a half breed. Maybe that half white side of his was the more intellectual side. I hate to say this, man. Most blacks aren't really that intelligent, man, and it pains me to say this, man, and it really does. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's not gonna work out with it's not gonna work out with blacks, man. We're too separated as a people, man. Like this whole black church argument, again, man, it's too scattered. It's just like in Africa, man. You got all these different languages. It's like the Tower of Babel with our people, man. It's just, I'm to the point, man, where I'm just like a misanthrope right now. I'm cynic. I don't have any hope, man. And looking at this,
let me finish the clip. Hope,
and in turn shape its identity. Therefore, the phrase "the black church," as used from this point forward, will refer to the collective, largely denominational body of churches comprised primarily of African American people who, through communal worship, race consciousness, and civic engagement, operate as a locus of spiritual empowerment and social agency.
So I think the biggest thing that shocked me when I
would like to point out.
Hold on. Let him talk.
So I think the biggest thing that shocked me when I heard this was that even the term black church is from the communists.
Yep.
That's pretty shocking I guess. I mean, my whole thing is didn't anyone ever notice ever in the history of the black church, and I'd air quote, but I don't even have that much respect for that phrase anymore, that God is never mentioned ever. Like, didn't anyone notice that being divine, righteous, like the words that you're supposed to hear come out of holy people's mouths? And the way you're supposed to talk and the nature in which you're supposed to present. I'm sorry. Maybe I missed something in that whole thing, but you've shown me a whole bunch of different things about the church, and it's a political action group. It's not anything else.
And that's the thing about communism, right? This is good because I want to ask, what is communism? Right? When you then break it down, what is communism? Go ahead, CT.
The black church stood behind the bus boycott, right? Niggas had already had their own goddamn buses. I would say that the really smart blacks said, "Hey man, why don't we just have our own goddamn buses, man? F these whites." This is where communism comes into play. Well, why? How come we should give up our own institution, and we should fight to be amongst this one? We should be treated fair amongst this institute. The black church got behind this shit. The black church got behind so many movements that were absolutely detrimental to them, that was detrimental to their own ecosystem or their own economies. They wanted communism. Blacks were all about communism back in the day with these stupid movements, and the church is largely responsible for this, man. And I've been saying this for years.
That's a good point.
And Martin Luther King, the Reverend Michael Luther King, look at this Negro. He fought for civil rights. Why didn't he fight for blacks to be the dominant group, to be the group of people where we're gonna work and we're gonna enrich ourselves? It's not gonna, hey man, if you're struggling, man, hey man, you just gotta figure it out. We're the elite, where we've created class structures. We're not all equal. We're not all equal even amongst ourselves. We have to separate ourselves through our own classes. He wants to, you can't uplift everybody like communism wants. Everybody isn't the same. You do need classes. It just is what it is, man.
I would argue.
If I may,
hold
on. If I may, and the only reason I'm doing this, you guys, please forgive me. We are an hour into the show, and this is our first time doing this. Please, you guys, like, share, and subscribe. We are Just the Guys podcast. We are every Saturday night at 6:30 p.m. We are part of MCM's group of wonderful shows. Please don't forget to check out Poppin' Politics, us on Saturdays. On Sundays, we have KJ Christian Conservative, the All-American Talk Show on Tuesday nights. With us, because we didn't get to introduce anybody today, please kindly don't forget to check out Soldiers of Finance. He's the benevolent dictator and sovereign leader of the free and wealthy state of Tyronistan, President Keys, right here. Also, on the bottom side, we have Chaotic from Chaotic Truth Live, and special guest this evening from Apostate Radio, Isaiah L. Carter. We appreciate having you guys in this evening. Once again, we are Just the Guys podcast every Saturday night, 6:30 p.m.
Can I finish this real quick? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I had to get that in. It's been,
If anything, with all that intelligence that Michael Luther King had, he should have collaborated.
Michael Luther King.
His real name was Michael.
No. He changed his father changed their names.
Michael Luther King should have got
Things you learn.
together.
Now it's CT.
I'm sorry.
Things you learn. I learned that from you on your show, the one you did about him, that his name was Michael.
Wow. Thank you so much. Michael Luther King should have got together with other extremely intelligent, high intellectual Negroes and exploited those other blacks. All them niggas in the deep South. Oh man, they should have exploited them. And what I mean by exploited them, you create businesses for them. You put certain people in certain positions. Certain people don't need to go to college. Certain people need a shovel, a pickaxe in their hand. The black man needs to get off. That's what communism does. Oh, I'm no different than you, fellow black man. That's bullshit. And that's a lot of you, not you guys particularly speaking, but that's the problem with a lot of blacks right now. Man, a black like me, you get about 1,000 of me's. Man, I'll go into Detroit. Man, I'll exploit them niggas. I'll do exactly what the Arabs are doing. I'll do exactly what everybody's doing. You have to be a capitalist. This liberation stuff, fighting oppression, that's bullshit. You got to fight this idea of worshiping the state and worshiping these stupid ideologies. Oh, we gotta fight tyranny and wait a minute, we should dismantle class struggles. No. I would be a staunch capitalist if you gave me the right resources, man. You got to put people to work. You can't be marching old man.
Well, the reason why they do all of this, the reason why they use all of that terminology is because the goal is to criticize things with the intent of announcing the possibility of something different without ever saying exactly what it is.
Yep.
That cause and I'm gonna be honest with you. That really is why so much of the black church doctrine taps into emotion. When you really, let's think about this for a second. When you really sit down and think and consider what exactly is it about communism that works? What is it that has caused a religion of something that has literally destroyed nearly 200 million lives in the past 150 years? What is it that would cause people, if you really sat down and thought about it, used your head, these commies would be thrown out of here in a rout. They know that communists know that you have to be dumbed down and indoctrinated from K through 12 in order to really get it, in order to accept it. They need you mentally ill. Think about it. Think about all of the things that they introduce in schools, all of the things that are generative, that are generative themes. That's why drag queen story hour and everything is a thing in these schools. That's why you see these gigantic. That's why you see these gigantic these drag queens giving sermons in Episcopal churches, okay, and things like that. You know, they do it to induce mental illness. They do it to induce people asking questions. They do it to break down distinctions.
Yep.
And they know that if you can kill distinctions, if you can break down boundaries, if you can get everybody's minds and hearts jumbled up, and they mistake emotions with rational thought, got you.
So Tyrone, what is communism, man? I'm gonna give you guys my definition in a second, but what is communism?
Well, according to Marx, it's the final stage of societal development. Now think about how arrogant you have to be to believe that. You know, they don't believe in private ownership of property. Zoran Mamdani has enunciated that several times, yet Zoran Mamdani owns acreage in his native Uganda.
Yep.
Okay, now it's real quick. I think I said this last week as well. It can't be said enough. Uganda is like the childhood homelessness capital of the world. Okay, yet here you have this socialist espousing, you know, a message of no property, no private property ownership, and he is okay with saying that, yet not doing anything to benefit homeless children in his native land. But that's how the Politburo acts every time, right? They have more. If you drive through the capital of Vietnam, you notice that they have their own little mini Champs-Élysées with the Cartier and all the fancy shops for their Politburo. All right. Not for the common Vietnamese. Look, the other thing about communism is capitalism perfect? No human system is perfect. Okay. But for our stage in development as a species, capitalism actually is the most reflective of nature.
Yep.
Okay, you can go out on the Serengeti, and the hyena, the gazelle, and the lion are practicing capitalist. All right, they are seizing opportunities. They're even performing hostile takeovers. Have you ever seen a pack of hyenas take a kill from a cheetah or a lion? That happens all the time. Okay, and they are pretty much in a very rudimentary sense. They're practicing ownership, and it's survival of the fittest. Humans don't like to believe that we are animals. They don't like to believe that. Okay, capitalism has pulled more people out of poverty. The poorest people in America look wealthy in a lot of other parts of the world.
Yep.
Okay, poor people in this country. Poor people in this country are more likely to have heat in the winter, AC in the summer, at least one car, may not be a Bentley, but it's four wheels and a steering wheel, right? Indoor plumbing, okay. What is it? Banantang in Indonesia. These people are living on a landfill. It is a city-sized landfill, okay? Eating refuse. Okay, so it sounds like they need some capitalism. Big time.
So, guys, I'm gonna give you my definition of communism. And of course, you have the technical definitions of what it is, you know. But when you examine, what do they believe? Right? They're anti-faith. Right? Religion is the opioid of the masses, I think, is one of the quotes. So they're anti-faith, anti-God. You know, they're anti-family. Right? So they want to raise your children away, just like I think it was Isaiah said that you have to be completely indoctrinated in order to accept this as a norm, right? So in order to do that, You have to raise the children away from the family unit. And of course, as you guys mentioned, they're anti-property. And it's all about the community. It's all about shared, but when you think about this, at least as a whole, right? If it's anti-God, anti-family, anti-property, right? And one of the 10 commandments wouldn't be thou shalt not steal if you didn't have rights to property. It's literally evil, the spirit of the anti-Christ.
Exactly.
To me, communism is the spirit of the anti-Christ, and the communists have effectively subverted the black church to preach hell.
Yes. 100%. 100%. 100%. They don't. Go ahead, CT.
I graduated from Kent State University.
Oh boy. I'm sorry.
The majority of the people that I know, particularly women, black girls, guess where they work? The federal government. Fixed incomes. They don't have a concept of free market capitalism.
That's true.
They relying on a government check. And I'm not knocking anybody that works for the government, but this shit has been taught. A lot of people I knew moved to DC. I was wondering, goddamn, why is everybody moving to DC? When I was young, I'm like, why are my friends moving to DC? Because they, now, granted, it's not communism in its absolute sense, but they relying on the government, a fixed income. It's just like welfare. It's just like we're gonna just share the resources, guys, amongst us all. I don't want to compete. I don't want to compete in the free market. I just want to rely on the government. And I'm not knocking anybody with a government job. Trust me, I'm not. But this shit was taught to us, man. I saw it as a kid growing up. I saw it as a kid, man. Oh, you have to uplift Pookie and Tyrone. Don't talk about them.
Pookie and Leroy, man.
You think you're better than them? This is communism being taught at micro levels to us, even in the churches. I'm telling you, man. I hate communism. I'll talk to you about this logic. I despise that shit.
It's Pookie and Leroy. Hold on. It's Pookie and Leroy. Tyrone does not need.
We're different classes, and we should treat each other that way. See, I believe in that shit. We should treat each other that way. But no, you can't treat everybody like that. We're equal. No, that's communist bullshit. That's there is class structures. God damn it, there is. Because the Trumps don't view me the same way as they view their own selves. It is what it is, pal. Go ahead.
So guys, it's simply put, communism, and this is the deception of it altogether, right? Communism is a religion disguised as a governmental system.
Absolutely.
There's nothing governmental about communism. It is not a society. It is a religion. You have to be faithful. I mean, Jamal Bryant you mentioned it, with the fist and the cross. These black pastors now are preaching hell. And I want to give the clearest example of this. I want to show this. This came across my feed this week, and I thought whoever put together this video made it abundantly clear. There's a pastor, and he might be up there with you, Isaiah. A.R. Bernard invited Zoran Mamdani in this church, and whoever put this clip together is so brilliant because it is going to show you how literal hell has been invited into the church.
Mamdani, a Democratic socialist running for mayor.
As your mayor, I will see it as my responsibility.
We came here to remake this state in the image of our people.
The ones who are so often forgotten.
Free Palestine! Free free Palestine!
Delivering universal child care.
Zoran Kwame Mamdani.
Most of all, I want a good and communal life to feel attainable for all.
We know that the lesson of Eid is understanding the value of sacrifice.
I want to return dignity and joy. Thank you so much.
Uh-oh, we've got some fans in here. Zoran.
I know who A.R. Bernard is. I know people who have gone to Christian Cultural Center. One person in particular who I know is very close to me who goes to that church. The fact that A.R. Bernard went and basically invited the wolf into the hen house disturbs me greatly. Zoran Mamdani is an evil man. He is an evil man. He is a liar. He is a liar. I don't want to go too far off on a tangent when it comes to him. Okay, because I would venture to say we all agree that he is we all agree as to what he is, and we know what it is that he is going to do. In the next couple of weeks, that guy is most likely going to become he's going to be elected mayor of New York City. Okay. But I want to talk about A.R. Bernard for a second. I thought that man, I honestly believed that he was a man of God. I thought he was somebody who was quite discerning and pointed people to Christ. Okay. That has been the impression that I've gotten of him out of everybody that I've talked to him, everybody that I've talked to about Christian Cultural Center. Why would you I get politicians going into the black church is not new. It just isn't. Okay. I've seen governors and mayors will walk into churches to try and plead their case before the community. I get it. It's a thing. But why that guy? Why are you inviting? I mean, forget the fact that Zoran is a democratic socialist. Why would you invite a paleo communist?
Because I want to answer you. I do, because it's something to all of you. You guys, God bless you all.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about communism, capitalism, socialism, Marxism, all these whatever words you want to use to describe social theories. Then you make a statement that this social theory is really a religion, not a government. You're wrong. It's both. It's everything. Marxism is both religion, governmental structure, societal structure. It's an all-encompassing social theory of how you reach utopia according to the laziest man on earth. The only thing he was desired to do was teach everyone else how to be as lazy as him.
Yep.
Anyhow,
well,
that being said, I have to make this point. That being said, very clearly, all we are discussing modern versions of feudalism. See, the difference between capitalism and communism or socialism is in capitalism, anybody can rise into the nobility class. You acquire enough merit, power, wealth, whatever, and you can fight your way in. Proof is Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, these guys control the world with their AWS and their cloud systems. The Rothschilds can't run their banks without the AWS cloud or Bill Gates's Azure network. It just doesn't work. So these people through capitalism, were able to rise into what we would refer to today as the oligarchy, but it's just another version of nobility. We've changed the need to have a king and a country and borders, and we've just made it about the merchant class becoming nobility. And we've just replaced forms of feudalism. We've enhanced it. We've come up with fancy ways to dress it up. We've come up ways to make kingdoms within kingdoms with corporations and organizational structures and 501c3. But all these are fiefdoms with slaves called employees, workers, whatever you want to call them. But there has never been a time they haven't been gearing the bottom half of society to work for the top 5 to 10% of society. There's never been a point in human history, whether it's communism, feudalism, dictatorships, pure theocracies, it's always the same thing. The bottom 80% do whatever the top 20% tell them until they get enough headache that they overthrow, put a new 20% in charge of them, and restart the cycle. You can talk about communism thing. The thing the founding fathers were the best at was creating a system that was stable enough that you didn't have to rely on a single authoritarian rule. You could just keep passing it along. And as long as everybody played in good faith, for the most part, the haves and the have-nots all got along. And you have clear elements in history where they had to totally restructure the have and have-nots here. The Civil War is an excellent one. Dude, we fired on our own. New York City got bombarded by the U.S. Navy. Like, they talk in this country like the military hasn't been used to quell all sorts of fucking shit inside its borders and on its citizens. So please, I want to enlighten everybody. We all have to stop thinking that we're anything more than serfs in a feudal network. We're just giving it fancy terms, names to make ourselves feel better and freer in a perspective. The only thing is in a capitalist society, it allows the most amount of people to rise into what we would call the oligarchy.
So should we be thinking that simple? Who wants to respond to that? Should we, I mean,
well, I think
you're a toaster.
There's a lot of merit. Absolutely. I also would add that there's an element that didn't exist prior to the 50s. And that is the Edward Bernays style of marketing, the psychology of marketing that really ramped up and exchanged a lot of capitalist principles for materialist principles. Okay, so it became not just about being able to, to an extent, chart your own course. Now, maybe that meant that you were a homesteader, that you were going to go out to stake your claim somewhere, never intending to become mega rich, right? But after the 50s, and again, Edward Bernays and Madison Avenue and the admin, you got this thing where now you could have the accoutrements of wealth, and you could basically pretend to be wealthy in exchange for locking yourself into debt slavery. And I think that perversion of capitalism, you see it now, like a lot of people, a lot of Gen Z is upset because they're like, wow, the average home in America is over $500,000, the average. And it's unattainable. So what we've been doing on Soldiers of Finance is chronicling what I am calling the end of capitalism. Okay, we're at the extent of capitalism, and we're starting to see a lot of things break down.
We're going back to proper feudalism
as a result.
Can I just add one comment? Because I wanted to finish. I didn't finish making my point. The final part of my point is you talked about why this guy had Mamdani in there, right? And to your, Isaiah, to your thing, he had him there for one specific reason. He's paying homage to the kings. His own party can't stop him. All the up on high who have all power in the Democrats don't ever talk out against this guy because he is clearly owns the party in New York City. This man is clear. He clearly dominates. They all worship him. He has the ground apparatus. He has the fundraising. He has everything he needs to control the party and this election. And as a result, even his worst enemies within the party fear him. So you know what? That church is a Democrat church. It is not a Republican church. It's not an independent church. It is a Democrat church. It is part of the fiefdom. It will message the fiefs, right? The Lord's message to the serfs. That's all it is. It is a mechanism of what CT said. It is all part of this larger prop. Like, again, apologies. People have to wake up. We don't live in a free roaming society where you're walking around determining your thing. There is structure and order long beyond any of our reach. And the idea is we're trying to get up there and be a part of that structure and order. But the truth is, We're still all here. You know why I know we're here? Because we're trying to make this show and do this, and there aren't 300 million viewers watching us. That's my, metric.
So that means Gimpy is telling us, you guys got to share. You got.
Well, yeah, like, share, and subscribe, get the message out. But again, dude, we are serfs. We're all trying to get out of it, and we have mobility because of capitalism and free market policy. But again, if you let it happen, you're nothing better than a serf. It will just stop being an option for you to get out. I'm just.
Well, I want to add to that, because there are ways to opt out, if not totally, then partially. Okay, I spoke earlier about the NFL. Reject the institutions to the extent that you can. Okay, I don't think any of us attends a black church. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's the case. So that's one. I'm sorry, guys. I know a lot of guys love sports, and that's cool, but the slavish devotion, I know people, and I know you know people, who can recite sports statistics like a damn Cray supercomputer. Okay, arcane shit, like what Willie Mays had for breakfast in 1967. Crazy stuff. Imagine if that attention was focused on something that's actually productive, right? Oh, you're the hottest guy at the bar. Okay, good for you. That whole thing with sports, that's bread and circuses out of the Roman Empire, a long-standing multi-millennial method of distraction. Eschewing, again, conspicuous consumerism, not paying any attention to this marketing that says you got to go out and, again, put yourself in debt slavery in order to keep up with the Joneses. There are a lot of ways, more ways than in the original feudalism, many more, that you can opt out.
Right. So shout out to Deborah with the $5 super chat. I'm not afraid of him doing some destructive things to do New York. And failing. I'm more afraid of him succeeding. That would change everything in our country. Yeah, shout out. And CJ, Kung Fu CJ with the $2 super chat, who's also a member of the Shamers Club, said, my scene just went black and blue. Sorry about that. I don't know if that was when it was sharing it. And also Kung Fu CJ with the $2 super chat. W.E. Du Bois was a communist. Bad reference. Yes, he was.
My bad.
But guess, so I want to go ahead and get out of here. But one thing, again, just kind of wrap up before we get you guys' final thoughts. I still believe the black community is key to saving America. But if we reject the religion of communism and return to faith, family, and freedom, it starts with appreciation, not indoctrination, gratitude, not grievance. We have to stop with the color gospel and get back to the cross. And ultimately, guys, we got to bring back shame. Now, there's one gentleman who recently passed. I think yesterday was his memorial. It was yesterday or Thursday. But Mr. Voddie Baucham, who passed away at the age of 56. He's been one of those black pastors or African-American pastors or just American pastors who has never adopted the black church myth. And I want to play this clip because I think this right here, really sums it up on how little of a difference these communists are playing on.
Race is actually a social construct. The concept of race is not a biblical concept. It's not a biblical idea. It is a constructed idea. You won't find the idea of races in the Bible unless you find it in the proper historical context where we see, number one, that we are all the race of Adam. Amen? One race, one blood. We are all the race of Adam. There is less than a 0.2% genetic difference between any of us in this regard. In fact, we're not even different colors. Amen. Technically, from a genetic perspective, from a biochemistry perspective, we're all actually the same color. Our color comes from our melanin. We've all got melanin, just to differing degrees. So it's not that some of us are, this color, some of us are that color, no, we're just different shades of the same color. Some of us just have more melanin than others, and I want you to listen to me on this. Listen to me. Just because you don't have as much melanin as I do, don't you dare think God doesn't love you as much as he loves me, because he gave me more.
Always loved him.
That was Dr. Baucham. Now, again, his memorial service was yesterday, I think. And I looked on YouTube for the memorial, and it was a whopping 1 hour and a half. If that was a black church. And I don't know if you guys remember the George Floyd memorial.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Hold on. Whoa.
How long was that?
I think it's still going on.
Well, yeah, it never ends. That's the infinite flame. But like, you're telling me that audience is a black church? There wasn't a black face in that crowd in that.
That is the point, Gimpy. That is the point.
Yeah, he does have a white audience. That's right.
He has a white audience, folks.
What does that say?
Sorry, like that has to be made clear. Like, I'm not against what he said. I very much agree with everything he said in that clip. But
what does that say?
I'll tell you what that says.
What does that say?
I'll tell you what that says.
What does that say?
What that says is that that we have been, as a people, drawn away from doctrine. The reason why Voddie Baucham resonated so much. I'm gonna just tell you, this is another personal anecdote. My father, shout to Kevin Carter. I love you, Pop. Voddie Baucham was one of my father's favorite preachers. Okay, because my father knows just like I know now, which is you're not going to see a black man or a black anyone. You're not going to see black pastors like a Voddie Baucham en masse. Voddie Bauchams are rare. And if they and not only are they rare, they are stomped out by all of these other mega churches and the allure of fame and fortune and everything else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Voddie Baucham was a believer on the Lord Jesus Christ. He was not just someone who pretended. He was not someone who used his charisma, although he had a lot of it. He was not someone who used his charisma for fame and fortune and money. To be honest, he didn't really have much money to be at all. If in the grander scheme of things. But no, he preached Christ. He preached the word of God, and that is what's missing. The fact that you have, and again, it disturbs me that there is such a dearth of love of doctrine, love of, like even an there is no desire in the black church to be a Berean, to see, to actually search the scriptures to see if these things were so, to borrow from my, Jesus, sound just like my father now. There's no desire to actually live according to godly values. It's just whatever fills that inwardly directed feeling, the emotions. That's all it is. And it's quite unfortunate.
So Tyrone, man, closing thoughts, man.
Yeah, the race thing has always and it seems like the division around race is getting worse. Real quick, shout out to Deb Huber, says most of Jim Jones' followers were black. That's worth noting, definitely.
Yep.
There is an original Star Trek episode, I'm sure CT is familiar with. It's called Let This Be Your Last Battlefield. Now, if aliens landed on this planet and started to observe the racial division, okay, it would be just as confusing to them as it was to the crew of the Starship Enterprise when they encountered two guys. One of the guys' faces was white on the right side and black on the left. The other guy was black on the right side and white on the left. And for like half the episode, the crew didn't understand why they were beefing, basically. And so one of the guys said, "Don't you see it? I'm black on this side and he's black on that side." And it was just the most ridiculous. And they're like, what? Okay. That's where we are.
Yeah.
That's where we are. And the last thing I'll say about it is you cannot convince me. The book Black Fortunes, I talk about it all the time. Pick it up. You cannot convince me that 6 slaves came out of that institution and became millionaires in the late 1800s. And you're going to try to push a message that somehow I'm inferior. I'm a little racial Fabergé egg here in 2025. Get the fuck out of here.
CT, man, closing thoughts, bro.
Great show, man. Thank you so much, man. That's my closing thoughts.
CT going to the black church tomorrow.
Never.
Gimpy, closing thoughts, bro.
The cure to all this: service equals citizenship. Would you like to know more?
Oh my God. Wow. The Starship Troopers reference. Wow.
That's the cure. Service equals citizenship.
Would you like to know more? Oh my God.
Reason.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Reason, what's your closing thoughts, bro?
Quite frankly, that I have no clue what reference he's talking about. I'm not a big movie fan like that, but no, great show, everyone. Wonderful show. Final thoughts. Yeah. So the reason I left the black church is because I got to a point in which I got tired of not hearing about how I can be a better Christian, how I can love people more, how I can be better at forgiving, how I can be, I just, when I was at the black church, I just felt like I was always associating myself with struggle, which is absolutely terrible. Every single song was, it's a Negro spiritual of some sort. Absolutely. I mean, you go into, and praise and worship is you feel you've had enough drained from you that when you needed the preacher to bring you back to level. You know what I mean? For real.
Exactly.
And it's absolutely crazy. See, so what's beautiful about leaving that now is the first day I got to my new church, I met the pastor and I said, wow. I'm like, this was intense. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm not used to so much Bible. He said, we're Bible heavy. You'll find that out. Like we shouldn't be learning anything else but what comes from the Bible. I joined like 2 weeks later.
What church is this, if you don't mind me asking?
We're at Rosedale Baptist.
Rosedale Baptist. Okay,
Rosedale
I'll keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Rosedale is incredible. I mean, it is all. My wife and I went, and this was what we thought was absolutely crazy. I'll get off screen, I promise. But we were told, hey, just so you know, for the next 60 weeks, it's over a year, we're going to go through the entire book of Acts so we can find out how to properly build the church.
Oh, wow.
What?
Wow.
What? It was absolutely, it was deep diving into the scripture. I'm telling you, that's what, and for people like me, that's important. Like to find out more. I mean, to the point in which people would consider it like, dude, that's a little obsessive, or you know, or esoteric even. Like, you know what, you're digging to really, really, really find. You know what I mean? And
It's called being a Berean, who are discussed in the Book of Acts.
There you go.
Like,
so that's my thing. I'm done, and it's just a great show. Thank you guys for a great show. That's all.
I don't feel no ways, Carl. I come too far. Remember Hillary?
Hot sauce in my pocketbook.
Yeah, right.
So, but I'll say this, guys. You know, I was in black church for a long time. I grew up in the black church. I played drums. I was a musician. I was there. It took so much of my life. And I want to be clear, though. Like, I'm not. I am being critical of the black church, but it's not because I don't like the black church or white people. We're having this conversation out of love and just to point things out, right? Because I know what the backlash is going to be. You hate black people, whatever. I don't care about
whatever.
But I will say this: when I used to have a key to the church. When I turned in that key, I don't know what it was, but there was a weight that was literally lifted off of me. And I don't know what it was. And it just weight that was lifted. And that's when I started searching, you know, just who God is in my life, right? Who God is. And it led me down the path of not just conservatism. It was just, you know, who God is and the founding of this country, the great, you know, evangelists, black evangelists, white evangelists that was spreading, you know, Christianity throughout the nation. You know, it led me to the white wall builders and David Barton. So Thomas, like even reading Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, like just reading them, it just awakened me. So I just want to say again, if it can happen to me, right, it can happen to anybody. I don't think I'm anybody special, but I don't know if I'm right, and it doesn't matter if I'm right. But it is just saying there's something different. And I'm just sharing with others that a weight was lifted as a result of leaving the black church, not having, you know, because I love Voddie Baucham, right? His message,
yeah, absolutely.
Jesse Lee Peterson is one of my favorite guys, right? He's a friend of mine, like you know, it's not a black or white thing. It's a matter of the heart, and that's what we have to get back to, because none of that other stuff matters. And just like S-Files, shout out to S-Files, who's on every single broadcast all across the world, right? So she's here, Just a Guy. She's on Christian Conservative, which is tomorrow at 9 p.m. Then she'll be back, of course, with us on Pop and Politics on Monday. And guys, we got some special stuff coming up for you guys. So you want to make sure you stay tuned for all the MCM production. But guys, I want everybody have a good weekend. Remember, we're here to bring back shame, and only monkeys litter.
Only monkeys litter.
Okay. We're getting out of here. Okay.